Easter eggs are fun, right?
You're goddamn right.
I mean, that's why I made a video on them. And you guys really seem to dig that one. However, a lot has happened since I uploaded that video, and even more Easter eggs, callbacks, references, or whatever you want to call them, have come to my attention, thanks to the always happy and not at all toxic comment section of YouTube. Now, isn't that right, comment section? Fantastic. So, because I love you, here are 10 more Dragon Ball Super Easter eggs I found thanks in no small part to you guys. And where better to begin a list created by the fans than with a reference to a fan-made parody. Number 10. Longtime fans of the Dragon Ball series are no stranger to the happy, loyal, and, well, borderline racially insensitive attendant to the Guardian of Earth, Mr. Popo. However, over the last decade, a certain group of fans has come together to create something truly special. A beloved Dragon Ball parody that has garnered hundreds of millions of views across YouTube alone.
Okay, what the hell am I sensing? Is that the Namekian? Is that me? Is that me stronger than me? I'll kill me!
I am of course referring to Dragon Ball Z Abridged. It's because of this fan production's widespread popularity I have decided to consider this an Easter egg. And so, in episode 91 of Dragon Ball Super, as Vegeta is making his way into the hyperbolic time chamber, he is reprimanded by Mr. Popo, who is framed like this. To anyone who has seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged, you know exactly what this is in reference to. Number 9. Koenma is the son of Enma Daio, and these fine folk are characters from YuYu Hakusho. In my last video, I touched on the possibility of the pacifier in Vegeta's mouth during the Patafu arc being a reference to Baby from Dragon Ball GT. However, fans were quick to point out to me that the effects of that pacifier were similar to one Koenma's pacifier. And sorry if I'm butchering the names here, I haven't seen YuYu Hakusho. I probably should. The pacifier gathers his pure Ray Ki and can be used as a powerful seal. So not only was this visually similar, it happened to have a lot of the same properties also. So, thank you comment section for that one. Number 8. Moving swiftly on from an earlier scene to a more recent one, episode 125 saw a familiar Galactic Emperor return in a rather familiar way, leading up to the climax of Dragon Ball Z's Frieza saga, to the surprise of Goku, Piccolo, Gohan, and Krillin. Frieza had made a miraculous return right after Goku had landed what many of us considered the final blow. Fast forward just hundreds and hundreds of episodes at this point, and you'll eventually find a scene where Frieza is being pummeled to oblivion by Toppo, a representative of Universe 11. With Frieza having been decimated, many of us watching thought he was down for the count for sure. However, just as Toppo is about to deal the final blow to Android 17, out pops Frieza, assuming a pose identical to that of his return during the Frieza saga of Z. Number 7. Okay, this is a fun one, and to be completely honest, it went completely over my head when I watched the series the first time. How many of you have seen Back to the Future? A great movie, right? Super fun, memorable, and not to mention influential. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure you at least know about the time machine it's famous for, as well as the specific part that allows it to function within the story, the flux capacitor.
And that's when he came up with the idea for the flux capacitor, which is what makes time travel possible.
So, what if I told you that the time machine wasn't the only thing Dragon Ball and Back to the Future had in common? What if I told you that Bulma too implemented a certain part in her time machine? Looks sort of familiar, doesn't it? That's a damn flux capacitor if I ever saw one. Needless to say, I thought this was a nice touch and a wonderful reference to an even more wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it, I couldn't recommend it more. Number 6. The episode is Dragon Ball Super 119. The situation? Find and eliminate those pesky invisible enemies. So the fighters of Universe 7 are tasked with finding a strategy to deal with these unprecedented foes. You might remember Master Roshi advises Gohan to induce a nosebleed, thus covering these invisible foes in his own blood. First of all, gross, but one might have thought this as being a throwaway goofy Master Roshi line, right? Well, it is, but it also has its roots set deep in Dragon Ball's history. Specifically, this is a callback to the fortune teller Baba saga of Dragon Ball, when Master Roshi, after coming into contact with breasts, proceeds to nosebleed all over the Invisible Man, allowing Yamcha to see him clearly. Crazy how Master Roshi's mind works sometimes. That's what I call a team player. Number 5. Man, another Patafu Arc Easter egg, huh? This better be good. Yeah, well this is good, so fuck you. Or at least I thought it was. So, how many of you out there have heard of the meme, "It's over 9,000"? Oh, what's that? All of you have? Well, it might come as a surprise to some of you that the now English voice of Vegeta, Christopher Sabat, was not the one to popularize that line. Nope. That honor goes to Brian Drummond, who played the role of Vegeta in the Ocean dub before him for Western audiences.
It's over 9,000! What, 9,000?
But what does this have to do with Super, you might be asking? Well, guess who Funimation hired to play the role of Copy Vegeta in the Patafu arc?
I can't!
Is this what you'd like to do to me?
Now that's what I call smart casting. Never in my life have I tuned in specifically to hear a voice actor's performance before. And needless to say, it was awesome and nostalgic. Number 4. Alright, this one is in here because of me. I personally just like this fact, and so I'll keep it brief. In a newer episode of Dragon Ball Super, we see Android 17 and Gohan team up. Funny that, because on that very same year, in the Future Trunks timeline, adult future Gohan was killed by both Android 17 and 18. And here they are just working together. Ain't that nice? Number 3. While the Dragon Ball community's thoughts on Kefla are iffy to say the least, I personally enjoyed her fight with Goku. Heck, the fight alone had probably my single favorite combat moment in the entire series. And yes, that's including instant transmission Kamehameha. However, fangirling aside, there was an instance many of you might have thought to be familiar during that fight. And that moment was this. Ring any bells? What if I show you this? I bet some of you out there thought that this was the first time Goku ever did a move like that. Well, it's not. It was against another girl fighter from the original run of Dragon Ball. And not just any girl, Chi-Chi. In the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, Goku faces off against Chi-Chi, knocking her out of bounds with nothing but the sheer force from his punch. Those of you in the comment section who noticed that, good going. Admittedly, this might be a bit of a stretch, but I couldn't watch that scene without thinking about this scene. Number 2. Alright, now, this one might have been obvious to you if you had seen the original run of Dragon Ball back in the day. Or recently, I don't know when or if you've watched it, jeez. Or do I? The scene in question comes from episode 71 of Dragon Ball Super. In that episode, remember when Goku was carrying that fish and got hit by Bulma's car? Well, that's actually how they met in the very first episode of Dragon Ball way back in the 80s. He even had the same fish. Number 1. And last but certainly not least, we venture back to everyone's favorite arc of Dragon Ball Super, the Resurrection F arc. Specifically episode 16, within which we find ourselves watching Vegeta, in a very flamboyant manner, fail to prepare a nice meal for Whis. Now, this might seem like an average everyday slice of life scene, until you look closer. In my last Easter egg video, I spoke about the Zanban and Durian fruit which found their way into Vegeta's luscious locks. They were the fruit puns which helped craft the names Zarbon and Dodoria from the Namek saga of Dragon Ball Z. Take a close look at the ingredients on the table next to Vegeta's mixing bowl. We have cream, yogurt, milk, cheese, and butter. These are, believe it or not, the Ginyu Force. Burter is butter, Jace is cheese, Guldo is derived from the Japanese word yogurto, Rakum is a rearrangement of the sounds that make up the Japanese word for cream, kureme, and Ginyu is derived from the Japanese word for milk, and I'm sorry if I butcher this, Ginyu. Again, this was something that completely flew over my radar, and it was really cool spotting it after the fact. As I've mentioned, this is the second video I've made discussing Dragon Ball Super's Easter eggs, and the last one's final entry seemed to really hit everyone emotionally. So, if you haven't seen it and would like to, the link is in the description down below. As always, comments and ratings are very much appreciated, and if you'd like to see more Dragon Ball Super craziness, feel free to subscribe for more. But that'll do it for this week. I've been Totally Not Mark. Thank you so much for watching.